Greetings and welcome to another summer edition of Montpelier Connection. I'm State Representative Mike Mawicki from the Wyndham 4 District of Putney, Dummerston, and Westminster. We're having a special out-of-session meeting today because of events that are unfolding in the state and around the world and how that impacts Vermont. And we have a very special guest here. We have Tracy Dolan, who is the new head of the Vermont Refugee Office and the former Deputy Commissioner of the Vermont Department of Health. And I want to start, Tracy, by thanking you so much for all the work that you have done during COVID, for the availability. I think many of us have heard your wonderful interviews on VPR and in other media, and it's just been so helpful to have that accessibility to get good information out there during COVID. So thank you so much for your work.
Thank you very much, and I'm gonna pass that thanks on to all the staff at the Department of Health who work incredibly hard under very difficult circumstances. So thank you for acknowledging their work.
That's a point well taken. I mean, Dr. Levine has been out front, and so have you, but there have been so many people who've been putting Vermont really at the top of performance in this regard and keeping Vermonters healthy and safe during a worldwide pandemic. So thank you for your point. Now, many people are aware of recent events regarding refugees, especially as the movement of bringing people out of Afghanistan. But refugees and the need for finding homes for them is nothing new. There have been various places around the world where the conflicts have created refugees. It's not new to Vermont either. I think when Bernie Sanders was mayor of Burlington, he had them designated as a refugee resettlement. And they have I think they've had three waves of refugees there. But what prompted the governor to create this position now?
Sure, this position actually has existed for a long time, but it became vacant. Denise Lamoureux was the former director of this office, and she retired after a great many years of service and really solidifying the program. I would say what's different is just that the governor has really come out front to say he really wants to expand the program. Between 2008 and 2016, we had a very vital refugee program in this country. You know, we were welcoming people who were escaping very difficult, dangerous circumstances. And here in Vermont, we were regularly resettling more than 300 people a year. And then after 2016, with the change in the federal administration, the refugee program significantly slowed purposefully. And the number of refugees we saw plummeted down to 30, 40, 50 a year. And so Governor Scott really would like to welcome more people here and also really enrich our communities and expand our workforce.
Yeah. So are there concrete plans right now to bring more refugees? And does it connect with the dilemma with Afghanistan?
Yes. So the Afghanistan crisis really triggered a new Afghan placement and assistance program for those Afghans fleeing their country. And in addition to the application that Vermont submitted to say we would like 300 refugees generally, we specifically then, when asked by the State Department, submitted for numbers. And so we actually now have 2 resettlement agencies and they both submitted. So we are looking at ideally housing up to 100 Afghans through the USCRI and another 25 through the Ethiopian Community Development Council in Brattleboro. So we've got 2 agencies now.
Yeah. Now, they had some news to share recently, and I believe they've hired a director to work in Brattleboro. Is there more you can share about that?
Sure. The Ethiopian Community Development Council is a national refugee resettlement agency, and they opened up a field office here in Brattleboro, and they applied for approval for that, and they got that approval from the State Department, and they hired Joe Wia, I believe that's how you pronounce his last name, could be Wia, W-I-A-H, and he will begin on Monday, and I just finished speaking to him. He's very qualified and very enthusiastic, and he's a Brattleboro resident.
Yeah, and I believe he was born in was it Kenya or Liberia?
I believe he was certainly working on Liberian conflict issues. I'm not sure what his country of origin is.
And his connection was he went to graduate school at the School for International Training in Brattleboro, right?
Yes, and then he stayed in Brattleboro and loves it and is excited to encourage other people to make it their home.
Yeah, well, and one of the clarifications I think that's a little confusing is people hear the name of the group, the Ethiopian Refugee Resettlement. Now, is this because they only bring Ethiopians here, or are there refugees from other parts of the world?
Yeah, no, they support refugees from any part of the world. It's just named that maybe because initially it may have had that focus or may have been founded by Ethiopians. You'll find that a lot in international work, that you'll have a name based on founders or origin, but of course it changes, and often these organizations serve everyone, and ECDC serves all refugees.
Yeah. Now, is there anything in particular that makes it more challenging or difficult with the Afghani refugees that we're hearing about?
Sure. One of the things that is challenging, but we're working it out, is that normally when you arrive here as a refugee, there are a variety of services that are already determined and provided for you and funded by the federal government, by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. However, the Afghans, because of the speed with which they had to leave, they were given a different kind of status called humanitarian parole, which allows them to come here, have a work permit, but it doesn't allow for them to get many services. And of course, with possibly up to 60,000 arriving, that won't work if they don't have services and support initially. And so that is a challenge. However, it looks like the federal government is working on a fix for that. We're hoping to hear more on October 1st to see what group of services will be available. But in the meantime, we do have folks donating and offering to help in communities in the off chance that perhaps some services won't be supported.
I know in the South here, there are faith communities that are very active in the effort to bring refugees. Is there ways people can connect other than being part of a faith community to, if they want to help?
Yes, you can go to the ECDC website. It's a national website, and there's a drop-down menu. And if you want to donate, you can choose which community you donate to. So if you want to provide some extra support, you can choose Brattleboro through the drop-down menu, and that would be one way to directly donate. And I'm sure as Joe Waya begins next week, hopefully we will also be able to have kind of a local email address or something if people have other kinds of services they want to offer.
Sure. Well, we'll try and put that graphic in that URL up on the screen here so people can have that information at hand. Can you share a little bit more about how you're going to be impacting this and what your role will be?
Sure. Well, I just started 2 weeks ago, so you're gonna hear my my 14-day, 15-day wisdom. But I am the state refugee director, and one of my jobs, my overall job, is to manage and coordinate broadly and to assure that we have services for refugees. I also have really a key job in communicating with Vermonters, ensuring that I'm connecting with what we're doing with the governor's vision as well. And of course, the governor is very supportive of this. And in addition, there are funds that come in through my office from the Office of Refugee Resettlement, and I manage and disperse those funds and make sure the right people get them so we can get the services. Now, so kind of, I would say, management coordination and broad oversight in terms of ensuring that folks are getting what they need.
Yeah. Now, one of the concerns that we have heard in this area is housing is at a shortage already in Vermont. So where are we going to put new people? And I imagine the same is true in northern Vermont as well. Are there ideas? Are you looking for individual families to take? And is there sponsorship options for families to take on somebody. I know I say this because my wife's family, when she was a teenager, through her church, brought a family from Vietnam, and the church sponsored this family, and everybody really took it on, helping them become part of the culture here, helping them get settled. Are there other options like that and ideas?
Initially, when families arrive, they will likely be part of a homestay program where a host family will take them in, hopefully teach them some of the basics of how we live day to day, and support them, be friends to them over the first probably 3 to 6 months. I can't speak specifically to how Brattleboro is setting it up. Longer term, though, I do want to state that while housing is tight, it's not impossible. There are people moving to Vermont every day for jobs. While many are remote, there are people moving here, and in many cases, they're finding housing. It's not easy, though. It's not easy, particularly to find affordable housing. And so that's where we'll be working really hard with the housing market, with housing organizations, talking to landlords. You know, we don't have all the details worked out yet, but as people come and get placed in homes, there will be a lot of folks working behind the scenes to figure out the best way to house people. And again, recognizing that this group isn't separate in terms of their housing needs, similar to other folks who may be low or middle income, really depending on qualifications. It'll be part of a larger pool of people that we continue to try to find housing for.
Yeah. One of the considerations that inspired Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation to get involved is there are so many businesses out there that can't find workers. Mm-hmm. Is there a sense that this will help with that? And do we know if there are skill sets that will be coming that employers can look to?
Absolutely. The connection to the workforce is so important. We have a high vacancy rate in Vermont, and this is a really incredible opportunity to bring in new workers. It's also, of course, an incredible opportunity to enrich our communities and to be able to help. So a lot of wins there. And we've already heard from a lot of businesses coming forward with, low skill to high skill jobs, saying once they get here, we'd love to be able to connect and we'd love to bring people on. People already forwarding very specific job postings saying these are the positions we're looking for. What the challenge, of course, in advance is we're not sure who's coming in terms of their skill sets. Ideally, in a perfect world, the first few people who come have great English skills so that they can be hired as interpreters. Those are jobs right away we could use. And then we imagine people will have a variety of skills, some possibly very highly skilled, some maybe not as highly skilled for our workforce. And we'll have to see as we go.
Yeah, well, I think it's a great idea. Traditionally, our nation has always looked to help supplement our labor force from abroad. And that's one of the reasons I'm here. All 4 of my grandparents came from Poland, and they came to this country looking for work, and they found it. And I'm glad to see that we're going to continue that tradition of supplementing our workforce with people from outside the United States. It adds to our diversity, and as any scientist will tell you, nature's strength is in its diversity.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I worked in Afghanistan for a brief period in 2002, just after the Taliban fell. And some of the locals that I worked with there had a variety of backgrounds. They were working with us to put up schools temporarily, and some of them longer term. We had engineers, we had people with health backgrounds who were working as we went out to speak with people. We had people with translation, interpretation skills working with us. So just a variety of skills. And I imagine we will see a variety of skills arriving here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's exciting. And I'm glad Vermont is taking this step to participate. And we're certainly, this effort's going to be in good hands with you, Tracy. So thank you so much for your work. Is there anything else before we go that you want to share with Vermonters?
Yeah, I want to thank Vermonters for a lot of things. I want to thank Vermonters for everything that they've done to make this state safer through COVID, for their incredible response to vaccination, for masking again when you're asked to. I know it's hard and long. And then that slides right over into just being a supportive and kind and caring community for people who will be arriving newly here from Afghanistan and the trauma that they're going through. Again, just drawing on the great qualities that Vermonters have to care about others and to support their communities. We've already had such an outpouring of people offering services, offering what can I do? And so just thank you for being awesome. Yes, that's what I'd like to say. Thank you, Vermont, for being great.
Well, that's a wonderful place to leave this. So Tracy, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for your work. And we look forward to checking in again and seeing how this is going. And I know many of us join me in trying to see how we can help. So thanks again.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.